Hey guys, today I wanted to share a watercolour painting that I've done recently with you. So what you can see right now is me just painting out some colour swatches, just testing out what colours I wanted to use for the painting, and these were just printed on some cartridge paper. Anyway, I didn't really go with any of them. I kind of deviated throughout the painting, which I guess kind of ruins the purpose a bit of planning it out like this, but I still think it helps me plan it out a bit, so regardless, I think it's good practice, and yeah. Anyway, so I'm going in now and starting our first few layers on the background. I thought this would be easier than it was. I use synthetic brushes. I don't use any brushes that have animal hair in them. And I found that these brushes that I'm using and that I've bought recently, they're nothing expensive or anything too special, but I found that they really didn't hold water well and I struggled to keep the surface wet. That said, I am also using cold press paper. In the last videos I've been using hot press, and I really wanted to give cold press another shot because I'm still trying to figure out what I like. So maybe it dried faster than I was used to with the hot press that I've been using. I don't know. Next time I am going to use the same brushes, the same paint, but try hot press paper with my next painting. Now I have upgraded my paints since my last videos. All the paints that I'm using are Daniel Smith watercolour paints that I have squeezed out into my own palette. And there is also one Winsor & Newton artist paint, which I'm using a lot. That is this reddish colour you're seeing me use now. Give me one sec and I'm going to go figure out what colour it was. And I'm back, and it was alizarin crimson. Alizarin crimson. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it was that one. So this background is just using two colours. It is using that crimson colour and the colour Moonglow from Daniel Smith, which I absolutely love that colour. It's so moody and it granulates a bit, and I'm pretty sure it's made up of two pigments, which is like a reddish pigment and a bluey pigment, I think. But they separate nicely regardless, and I really like colour. I recommend it if you want to get a moody vibe in your painting. Also, apologies for my bird chirping in the background. That is Bandit. He wants to be featured in today's video, it seems. It's past his bedtime. Anyway, this background was done in 2 layers. As I said earlier, I did find it more difficult than I expected. I don't know, I thought it would be easier to pull the closer colour to the line work without going over the lines, but it wasn't. So maybe next time I might mask off those lines. I just thought it was a pretty simple enough outline not to mask them, but lesson learned. I will mask off next time. Anyway, what I'm doing now is I'm going in with, I think the colour is quinacridone. I don't know how to pronounce that one either. That one, let's call it quinacridone rose. And I'm adding in some blushes, and then I'm going in with a mix of Hansa Yellow Light, I think it is, and New Gamboge to kind of, I don't know, add some more depth to the skin. I don't know why I do that. I just like adding that yellow within the blush. Anyway, after that, you will see me follow up with a purple where I'm starting to add the shadows. I had an issue with this purple. Not with the purple, actually, with the paper, I think. I was so careful with this paper. I didn't use a hard eraser at all. I only used a kneaded eraser to get rid of any of my lines. Anyway, where I raised didn't even touch this part, but you'll see on that thigh that is hanging down there, the paper just must have been damaged or something. And I was so careful, nothing sat on the paper, I didn't rub it, I was careful. Anyway, it just seemed to grab onto the pigment or something and it stained, which I'm not thrilled about. It wouldn't lift. I tried wetting it and lifting it, and you win some, you lose some, and I lost on this one. But that's okay. At the end of the day, I'm okay. I'm okay with how it turned out. I'm not happy about it. It is a bit of an eyesore in the painting. You're about to see it right now. And there it is. I went over with another layer and it just got darker. So cool, fun times. That's a part of the painting now. But that said, any advice or opinions on what happened there, let me know. I'd love for that to never happen again. Anyway, so I went in a few times into the shadows and darkened them, and I even came back at the very end of the painting and just continued to add more and more purple to those shadows. I am trying to be more ambitious and more confident with going dark with my colours when appropriate, and I think I did okay with this. I also did darken the blush as well later on. Anyway, if you look at that stain, it has gotten darker again where I have layered some more purple over it, so it just seemed to grab onto even more. But I am still exploring, as I said, my paper options. I know a lot of people use arches, and I am trying to avoid using arches because it does use animal product in the process of making the paper, which is a no-no for me personally. But yeah, so if anyone knows any watercolor papers that you love and live for that don't use animal product in the making of the paper, let me know and I would love to check them out. Now, one thing that I did think about a bit when doing this piece was how I wanted to do the line work. I didn't really want to do black line work, to be honest, but I don't own any coloured liners, and I ideally liked the idea of using a coloured micron, but they aren't as easy to get in Australia, I don't think so. I am looking at them online and I am considering them, so if you use them as well, let me know if you like them. The other things I considered doing was at the very end, lining it with a more opaque watercolour and getting some real thick watercolour in there. I also considered maybe lining with gouache or using like a drawing ink or something with a brush. But what I had on me was my liners, and that's what I know. So I decided to go with that instead. I am using these paints pretty much for the very first time, so I decided not to add in another new product or technique and just go a bit more comfortable. Now, the idea of making the feet and the hands like this inky colour is kind of what inspired this piece. Originally it did just start with the figure, how it was, and I wanted to do that to the feet, or especially that foot going down. Originally I just planned on having that one coloured and maybe having like it looked like it was like dipped in oil or something and having like that black like oil dripping from the foot. But it went from there to me deciding to add wings, then me deciding to add horns, and I'm happy with that decision. I guess the drawing kind of just decided how it's going to look for itself. Now what I would like to do is a little bit of self-critique. I'm sure by the time this video is going up I will have so many more critiques of this painting, but I think it is good to reflect on what you would like to focus more on and change. So one thing with this painting is I think that thigh in the background is potentially too thin. And also I think that kind of that lower back area looks a bit stark. I think I do go in with more purple later on, and because I just felt uncomfortable with how white it was, like how it just felt flat. So I think I added more shadow to it. But still, I'm not sure. I think I could have added more dimension maybe there. And I think that goes in line with saying I think I would like to work on better planning out the shadows and the highlights and where I want the warmth in the skin and all that prior to painting, because I kind of just wing it. Like I kind of just go in with it. Like I do my little color comp at the start, but normally I don't do that. That's the first time I've ever done that. So I need to keep that up, I think. Overall though, I'm happy with this piece. I think that it is leaning in the direction that I want my artwork to go. As much as there is room for improvement, I think it is starting to, or I am starting to produce artwork that I like. So yes, overall I'm pretty happy with this piece, except that purple mark I want it gone. One thing, as I am starting to paint the hair, again I didn't go with the colour comp. I decided I wanted light hair, and originally I was going to have a dark brown hair. I started going in with this really light minty blue colour to kind of add some dimension to the hair, which I think is a really pretty colour to use with like whitish hair. But my colours are all purple and my shadows were all purple and it looked off, so I went over it with a more purpley kind of colour, and I think that really helped to bring that hair into fitting with the rest of the painting. Now, another thing that I wasn't 100% sure on what I was going to do until the time came was the colour of those horns. They were either going to be bright vibrant red or the colour that they are, and I'm happy with the colour that I chose. I think the red would have just kind of been a bit odd. That colour really goes with the feet, and I think it stands out enough from the background, but it also fits in. Like I think it's quite cohesive with it all. When I drew this image, I drew it as a male figure. I don't know. I think it's quite androgynous looking. Like it could be female, it could be male, and I'm cool with that. So yeah, if there is any question over what gender it is, I don't know. It can be whatever you want it to be. Anyway, as I said earlier, here I am going in with that purple and darkening up the shadows just a bit more, just to try and add a little bit more depth, and I also added a bit more blush. But that's, I think, everything I've got to say about this painting. So video's almost over, so thank you so much for sticking with me, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If If you'd like to see more, feel free to subscribe, and I also have my Instagram linked down below, which is where I post all of my artwork.
It's easy to say